your story. Sebastian O'Kelly joins us now, Chief Executive of the charity Leasehold Knowledge Partnership, who have been advising leaseholders affected by the cladding crisis. Sebastian, this is going to be a bit shorter than I'd imagine because I've got so many calls that I want to get to as well. But just from your perspective, we hear these tales of absolute woe from people on the phones, and I just think, well, there but for the grace of God go many of us. What can you do, and what can your organisation do to help them?
Well, we put pressure on the government for starters to get some of this money out there to get partially the way to a solution, but this is very much a solution on the developers' terms. They're only being levied £2 billion over a decade to pay for that, which more or less equates to the bonuses paid to the senior executives of the house builders. It's quite evident in this that there has been a toxic relationship between household name house builders in this country and government, and it has failed, and it's failed many people. And the defects that they created are now having to be paid by the very people who shouldn't have paid for them, the consumers, the people who bought flats. The bulk of this is now going to be paid by those who bought flats in low-rise apartment blocks, that is lower than 6 stories or 18 metres. Meanwhile, those who live in 18 metres and above get this sort of get a grant, even if you're in a prime site in central London with a 12 million quid penthouse on the top. You will get a grant for your cladding. So it's not based on need. It's not based on risk. It's a flawed way of dealing with this. And if we just throw money and grant at this crisis, which yet again our house builders have caused, we're going to have the same rubbish in the future and learn nothing from this mistake.
Do you worry that the developers, the house builders, have too much political influence? I mean, many of them, not all, but many of them make party donations. They've done it to not just one party, but various parties over the years. Do you think that accounts maybe in part for maybe the government's reluctance to go after them?
That's a very... you get into a sort of darkly speculative area there.
Well, you do, and I don't normally like to do this because I genuinely don't think that party donations have that kind of influence, but a lot of people will suspect that they do.
Yes, and I do think that the more important than really the donations to the Conservative Party, I think, has been the way that the residential property sector has so inserted itself into the system at every level, so that civil servants only listen to them, only prioritise their wishes, has been at the root of this. There needs to be more scrutiny and much more robust attitude towards the developers. Look, it wasn't so long ago that they were flogging off flats and houses with tippling and spreading leasehold houses, for God's sake, all over the country, basically ripping off their own customers, the consumers. And they were doing this helped by an enormous subsidy from us, the taxpayers, through Help to Buy. This is a racket. They do need to be under control. They do need to fear government and fear that the electorate really has had enough of the games that they play.
Sebastian, thank you. That's Sebastian O'Kelly, Chief Executive of Leasehold Knowledge Partnership.